No. Geographically? Geographically. This is cool. So I would say make sure that pretty face is showing.
Yes, true.
They're going to want to see that fucking thing. They're going to want to see that fucking thing, Alan. That fucking face. You good? Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another special episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. We're just going to do a little change up, and there's always a good story behind how we get our guests and how we get in contact and all that happy jazz. Alan, tell the story.
Yes, so this is Vinny DeGeorge. I'm pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so
That is literally a first.
Hey, well, fail forward.
Yes.
Fail forward.
As we do.
So I met you in the gym, probably 3 years ago now, Anytime Fitness Uxbridge. You're a good friend of Nate Smithson, who's also been on this show, right? Kev?
Yes, he has.
Yep. And he's one of my best friends, my fitness coach. And you mastermind with Corey and Nate.
Correct.
Quite frequently.
Yep.
You've always been kind of a self-starter. You reached out to me recently. You're always Snapchatting me books. Most recent one was Unleash the Power Within from Tony Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
And The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort.
Yep.
And I've read both those books. And you and I are both really into self-development, personal development, fitness. And like attracts like, and here you are.
That's it, man. I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
For sure.
I'm really excited. This is out of my comfort zone a little bit, but you know what? We don't grow from, being in a place of comfort. So I'm really excited to be here and, maybe offer up some good knowledge.
You already have. So, and that's, like you just said, that was the biggest thing that impressed me because I don't think you and I have ever talked.
No.
I know of you,
Yep.
but I don't know if we've ever been in the same room at the same time.
It's the same. We kind of run in the same circles, but we never actually physically met.
Right. And the first thing, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Alan was texting you. He's like, I'll text Vinny, see what he's up to this weekend. Mm-hmm. And your response was, that's way out of my comfort zone, so that's definitely something I should do.
Which I love.
Right.
Yeah, because most people don't, when we do reach out to people to be on the podcast, there have been some that you can tell it's outside their comfort zone, but they have the opposite reaction, which is to not do it.
Right.
Or to say, I have this or I have that or I can't make it work. You were the opposite. You're like, I have to do this because I'm scared.
Right. And that goes along with everything you do self-development wise. You have to, put yourself into that place where you're going to grow because otherwise, you're just going to be spinning your wheels.
Yeah, man.
What was there something that catalyzed that conscious thought? Like, oh, you know what? In order to do what I need to do, I need to be willing to do things that I'm uncomfortable doing.
Well, I've been watching a lot of Gary Vee lately.
Gary Vee, shout out to Gary Vee.
Shout out Gary Vee. Your stuff is awesome. Take action. You have to just do things. So, stop sitting there, guessing yourself, because that's when you start to overthink things, and then you never do anything. You never go through with anything. You need to just do it and suffer the consequences of it, whether it be, a good outcome or a bad outcome. You're going to learn either way from it.
For sure.
So
Either
For
way,
sure.
I love it.
Yep.
So you were out in Arizona for the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
And so you grew up around here, though. Milford?
Yep.
Yeah,
I
okay,
lived in
Milford. Awesome.
Milford my first 24 years of my life. Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, and you went to school at Nimock?
No, Milford High.
Milford High, okay.
Yep.
And so you and Nate and Corey have all been masterminding for probably 3 years now. Two or 3 years?
Yeah, maybe even a little bit longer, but yeah, about roughly 3.
Okay, awesome. And I think a lot of people aren't familiar with the term mastermind. So I personally heard that term the first time in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yep, one
and
of my favorites.
And one of the ways that I describe mastermind, and you can chime in on this as well, is if you have a battery, 3 different batteries, right now, because the podcast is a mastermind, really what it is, because we're having a conversation. So all 3 of us have a certain amount of power and potential within us. Mm-hmm. When we connect up, it's 3x. It's actually more than 3x of the power. So you, Corey, and Nate have all been masterminding for years, and you're all sort of entrepreneurial minded. Mm-hmm. You started your own sort of practice with cars, right? You were souping up cars. You and Kevin can connect on that as well because he's big into cars.
Yep. Yeah. So
Sure.
I started off, being an auto mechanic. That's what I wanted to do outside of, when I got out of high school. And then, I got into fitness, which I was never into, before the age of 21, maybe. And just ever since then, it's just been trying to grow and, better myself in every aspect of life. So, fitness, if we want to change the subject a little bit on,
sure,
on the
yeah,
fitness, but
absolutely,
that has changed me more so mentally than it ever did physically. In a sense that, everything that you do, every rep that you put in the gym, it translates to the strength that you build in your character and what you do in the rest of your life, how you attack other things in your life.
We were talking about that yesterday. So the key to muscle gain and strength gain is progressive overload. That's the term. That is the fitness term, progressive overload. Basically overloading your muscles to the point where they either adapt and grow or they break. And they do break when they grow. That's what success is. Breakdown.
Yeah.
Not injure.
Right.
But
That's what growth is.
That's what growth is. That's what success is. You progressively overload your skill level, your ability, like whatever it is. That's why we keep doing this and things go wrong. Like we always talk about that. And one of the things Vinny said was, Jesus, like seeing behind the scenes is like, that's something that really opened my eyes. And I think that's important because you have so tell people what you're doing right now.
All right, so right now, I got a few things going on. I do work an 8 to 4 job Monday through Friday right now, but on the side, I do my fitness thing. I'm trying to grow my social media, but I'm also...
What's your... give yourself a shout out.
All right, Vinny_lifts on Instagram. Follow me there, and you can get all my contact info from there. Perfect. So other than that, right now I'm getting into an online business. I'm starting an entrepreneur lifestyle brand, and it's called Won't Die Broke.
Yes.
So I'm currently building the website right now, and it's a lot of work, man. I'll tell you, I didn't foresee it at the beginning, but like all the little minor details that go into it, they take a lot of time.
Yes.
And people don't realize, and that kind of relates to what you guys are doing here. What I want to mention to your followers is that this is a lot of work. You see the end product. You see us sitting here, in front of the camera, in front of the mic, and talking. But there is a lot of setup and work that goes into this that you just don't see, but you need to in order to appreciate, what goes on
what
here.
The product actually
for them to be able to give you this value, it takes a lot of work and effort, and that, that's how it is with my website that I'm building right now. It's taking a lot of work, but in the end, I know it's going to be well worthwhile.
Absolutely, man. And even if for whatever reason, for those out there who do want to try something and it's always more work than you ever could have anticipated, which in a weird way is a good thing, because if I had known, might not have gotten started. No. But like, you build up to that. I always say, overload your plate by a little bit more than you can eat so that your plate grows.
Right.
I like food.
Yeah,
I like food.
And I
love food,
especially when you're in a bulk. But like, it's so much more than you ever could have anticipated. But the skills that you develop in order to take those next steps, those next reps, are with you forever. Just to go back to the gym analogy like you made, like fitness is so much more than like looking in the mirror, taking selfies. That's what you see. What's really going on is us building our character and our discipline.
Yep, that's it, man. It's a long road. It doesn't happen overnight, and that's the thing. Everybody just wants to the quick fix. So they want, in the world that we live in now, where everything is instant gratification. It is easy to fall into that trap of wanting everything to happen instantly, but it just doesn't work that way. You need to pay your dues and put in the time in order to achieve something. And I also want to mention too is that when you're building something, like a brand or whatever, or you have an idea in your mind to build something, just go for it. Yeah. Like you can obviously have all the knowledge in the world, but if you never act upon it, then it's useless.
It's
useless knowledge.
Knowledge is not power; it's potential power.
Exactly. You need to take action on it. I mean, and that's what I'm learning through this process of building my business is that it's you just got to do it. You got to be a doer. You have to do it.
Yeah.
How long have you been working on your business, like total?
In all honesty, it hasn't been that long. It's been maybe a month, but I've been hammering down and every day, just little by little, planting the seeds. And
this will be good because so when I was going through the pod, like I said, I renamed a bunch of the podcasts. We went through, renamed them, blah blah blah.
Yep.
Okay, going through them, seeing the different things and knowing what happened in an episode, like what the micro failure was in that episode, I always go back, and Alan always goes back to this. I had my dream guest on the podcast. I did the podcast from a shitty hotel in New Jersey when I was working, a phone interview. Shout out to Justin Wren. He's a professional mixed martial arts fighter and a humanitarian. And he was the person, my dream podcast. Like, this is it.
Yep.
I have him. Everything's great.
Yep.
It was
Killed the interview. Yeah.
It was a dope interview. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
You asked great questions.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. It was
the audio.
but it was useless. So that was my first real taste of like, fuck, like this is not anything that I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Have you had that moment yet where you're like,
Gut check.
Yeah, like your back's against the wall and you're like, oh shit, it's nut up or quit time.
I don't think I've had that per se, but just I kind of had that moment in my life itself, not just the business I'm working on, but I just had that moment where everything clicked. Like this idea that I had for this business, I actually had a really long time ago. Like I had when I was living in Phoenix, about a year or so ago, and I had the idea, but I never took action on it, and it always lingered in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And so I just like hit a point where I'm like, why am I going through these motions every day where I have this idea which I think is pretty great and I'm not acting upon it?
Yeah.
Like something's got to change. If finding happiness in your life is the ultimate goal, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you find that you're stuck in a rut, you got to just like go after what you're thinking in the back of your mind.
Yeah, if you're running it in your head and not taking any action, it's going to eat you alive.
Yeah.
You have been through a lot in the last 3 years. There's a couple things I can mention. You were DJing for a while, or like doing mix music, I remember, right?
Yep.
So you've been doing all kinds of awesome things. You've always had a thing that's like you also play guitar. You're kind of a renaissance man in that sense. So DJing, playing guitar, tuning up cars. Now this Won't Die Broke business. So you're doing a lot of different things. What's your take on people out there who don't know what they want to do yet, and therefore you kind of go try a bunch of different things, and then you kind of hone in on what your thing is?
It's really funny that you asked that because I was thinking about this question before I even came on the show. I knew it was going to come up at some point. So what I honestly think from my experience so far, I mean, in no way am I where I want to be yet, but I can offer my insights from, my past experience. But so a lot of people say choose one thing and stick to it and go from there. But honestly, I think you need to dabble. I think you need to be a dabbler in a sense that you need to try different things in order to know whether you're going to like it or not. Like that's just how this works. Like you can't just choose one thing and go for it and not do anything else. Like so that's why I've dabbled in all these different things and found things that I enjoy that make me happy at the end of the day. Even if I'm not like, a superstar from it, who cares? It's something that you enjoy to do, so just do it.
And those skills will follow you, and you never know where those dots might connect in the future. As
Right.
Steve Jobs says, you can't connect the dots looking forward, but looking back. He took that calligraphy class, and that's the only reason why Apple had the typefaces and all that stuff in his computers. So that stuff might serve you later on. I used to video edit. Real quick tangent here. I used to make Halo 2 movie montages, and I used to video edit. Now I'm doing that all the time. So it's like, I was doing this when I was 14, 13 years old, and I was all about it, and now I'm doing it for a podcast, and it's like, I'm glad I did all that.
Right.
So what's your take, though, on someone who... Because I do think that if you always dabble, you're not going to master anything.
Right.
But I don't think you dabbled. I think you were, like, your goal was... And you correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, when it came to the DJing stuff, the music stuff, the guitar, like, it doesn't seem like you're a dabbler because you're really putting in the reps.
Yeah. No.
So I want to make that clear to the listeners.
Yeah. No. Like I'm a perfectionist by nature. Like I always have been, I always will be. Which it's good in some ways and bad in the other. But like you always just got to put your max effort into whatever it is you're doing. That's why all those different things that I've done, I've always put forth, the utmost effort that I can into it, learning as much as I can about it through the process, because that will shape you in the end.
Yeah, so I always say chase two rabbits, catch neither. And so focus, I think, is really important, and it's even more important now than ever because we're so scatterbrained all the time with all these stimulus, phone, tweet, text, all that stuff.
Instagram.
So I've noticed, like, your work ethic and your focus is actually pretty good. Maybe behind the scenes it's worse than I think. I'm not sure, but it seems like you go kind of all in on a thing to try to master it, and then you are trying to go all in enough to where you know whether or not that thing is for you. Is that true?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's the thing. Like sometimes you got to find that thing that you know that you're good at, and just roll with it and put your effort into that, but still do the other things that do make you happy.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's super important.
Yeah.
Because if you get fulfillment from it, like when we were playing hockey, right?
Yeah.
What do we get out of that? Fulfillment.
Exercise and fulfillment and
Fulfillment,
fun.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and it's like
some dope ass videos.
and some dope ass videos. But that's but like to Vinny's point, like I'm not going to hitch my success on hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're okay just strumming away at the guitar, making your own songs, like you're not trying to be Ed Sheeran, then I think it's okay. Yeah, that's not dabbling. I think that's the point that Alan's making.
How do you how long have you been playing guitar?
Since I was 7.
Okay,
Jesus.
so yeah, that's what I mean.
You
You're
are
not
Ed
a
Sheeran.
dabbler.
Nice to
So
meet you.
so you've been playing every year since you were 7.
There's been some times that I've taken off just because life gets in the way sometimes, especially when you're getting older and you have more responsibilities. But I still try and play as often as I possibly can.
What a unique sentence. And I say this all the time too. Life gets in the way. But that is life.
Yeah.
Right? So and a lot of people say that. We were talking about that every time we have a guest on, man. They just basically say everything we said yesterday. Like, you guys are all psychic.
Yeah.
It's
Thoughts are things.
thoughts are things. I don't know, man.
It's a bad excuse.
No, it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's like I'll catch myself and I'll be like, I'll go to boxing. I want to box. I want to have a professional fight. Like I always hit the bag. I shadow box. I have decent fundamentals, but I need a trainer.
And I would argue you do more than dabble. You do.
I will argue that as well.
Okay.
But a lot of people say like I will do this when this happens, and this never happens.
Waiting for that one moment, the
Yeah.
right moment.
There is no. We were talking about this last night.
Yeah.
When we went super deep.
Yeah.
Into we talked for 4 hours last night. Me, you, and Tom. Shout out to Tom.
Yeah, we did.
I just choked in my own spit.
Right?
There is no right time. All there is time. It's just time.
Right.
What you do with it is what you choose to. If you do what you should, you chose to do what you should.
Exactly.
I think that's the difference.
We all have choices every single moment. I mean, I have a choice to drink this water right now or just leave it on the table like that, and that's like that in anything in life. I mean, it's a silly,
No, I love
metaphor,
that.
but
I
at the
love
same
that.
time, that's how we, get to where we're going is choices.
And we're
It
usually
is-
on autopilot. We're just doing it.
Right. It might
Right.
be a silly metaphor, but for somebody who doesn't drink enough water,
Oh,
that's
I
what
know.
they need to hear. Just fucking do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just do it.
Just do it.
I think that getting something that tracks it is important. Jenny wasn't drinking enough water. She got a bottle that tracks on her phone. There's an app to get a goal of 80 ounces.
Why didn't
she
I
would
think
usually
of
go
this?
to
I should've
120
thought of that.
ounces. Oh, it's amazing. And she drank her water every single day, over 80 ounces a day, and she felt amazing. And it's like whatever you track is going to get focus, and whatever you focus on is going to improve. So one thing I did want to ask you, though, is what was that catalyst? Because at any time, we can all chase our dreams. What was the catalyst for you to say, I want to change from this to this, or I want to start this thing, that business that was rolling around in your head for years? When did you say, this is it, I'm fucking doing this?
Love it.
I feel like it's any time in my life where I've done that, it's been at a low point, and that goes back to you need to be under pressure in order to grow. Like you need to do something out of your comfort zone in order to grow. So like I felt like, man, I just don't feel fulfilled with what I'm doing right now, and then I just was like, you know what? Let's take immediate action. Like you have to just take action. You have to do it.
Immediate action.
Yeah.
So would you argue that you were under a level of pain prior to that breakthrough?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't. And coming back here too, being in after being in Phoenix for a while, it's like the weather plays a big role on my mood, at least. I don't know about you guys, but like going out there every single day, seeing beautiful sunny sky and lots of stuff happening, it was motivating. And then coming back here, it was like, man, what is this? But I mean, I guess that's just like the realist in me. Like you can take positivity out of anything really.
Yeah.
But I also feel like this is what I needed to grow, because again, coming back here is a place of uncomfort for me. So
Okay, interesting.
yeah.
I always try to we have a lot of, we were talking about this in the last podcast, Kevin. We said stop chasing comfort.
Yes.
not to the point where you're going to lose your mind, but like you should have some level of discomfort. They call it complexity. That's the place you want to stay in. You want to have
Should it be 80-20 there as well?
in terms of
80% work, 20% turn your mind off and
yes,
chill?
I actually agree 100% with that. 80-20. Yep, absolutely. I think most people are the opposite.
I agree.
20% discomfort,
Yep.
80%
Yep.
comfort and chasing comfort. But what I've realized in neuroscience, studying physiology and neuroscience, is that kids, like children, can learn and change really, really quick. They always say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Now, here's why. We have neural pathways in our brain that the more you do a certain task, the more myelin insulates those neurons. And the basically it's a highway to that task and a dirt road to anything you want to change. So basically, the older you get and the more you repeat anything, whether it's drinking this water or whatever, I just spilled all over myself. It's now ingrained in me to do it automatically, more autopilot. So the more you do something, the more it's autopilot. We've been doing fitness for 3 years. Kevin, 12.
Long time.
A long
Too
time.
long.
So going to the gym for him is not difficult. It's like autopilot. I could. That's why we can listen to a book and lift, by the way, because we can autopilot the gym now. So what I'm saying here, though, is like if you are an adult and you've been doing these habits for 10 years, what's going to take a change, like a real change, is usually massive trauma or a lot of turmoil and pain. So like if you staying comfortable is really uncomfortable, which is what you kind of just described coming back to Uxbridge or to this area, that pain of you just sitting there doing nothing drove you kind of crazy, and then you were like, that's it, I'm fucking doing this. And so we unfortunately live in a culture that, we talked about this in the last episode, Has America Gotten Soft, that tries to Band-Aid the pain, which then there's no reason to change. So what is your take on that? And like when you've shifted from mastering one thing to another and trying all these different things, like what was it always this kind of thing that catalyzed it? You got kind of comfortable and wanted to shift? How do we articulate that for people?
Yeah.
I know it's a humdinger, sorry.
I'd say so. I'd say if you get to a point of complacency or a place of, just pure comfort, then you need to switch things up and, or adapt and grow. That I'm all about that, adapt and grow. Like if like that's how I'm gonna, do this business. If I do these micro failures along the way, adapt and grow, and then it'll lead to the macro success. So, which is something you guys talk about a lot on the show, I know.
Amen.
We experience it. The reason so many things that we talk about are so fresh in our heads or we're so passionate about them is because that is exactly what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Like
in everything.
It's so easy to do an episode on micro failures and macro success because that is what we are doing. We are trying every day for micro failure in order to get to the macro success. But it's so important. That's why having somebody that has a similar mind, that's why we like sitting down with people who have similar mindsets, because people hearing us say it over and over again and then hearing you say it and then see the results that you're going to get from doing it, it just proves that anybody can do it. Do you believe that you're born, like you were born the way you were?
I don't. I mean, there's certain things that you might not be able to change, but there are a lot of things that you can change. And you just do it like
Give
I
us
said.
an example of each, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, no, like I said, like
something you can't change versus can.
Well, I'd say if you're deep down, compassionate person, born a compassionate person, then it's hard to teach stuff like that. But in the other sense, like if we talk about fitness, like I said, I was never into fitness until I played sports, but I was never into fitness until I was like 21 years old. And my friend Corey, who we've talked about previously, he was like, "Hey, want to go to the park and work out?" I'm like, "Okay, let's try it." Like I've never done it before, but let's do it. And it was very hard. I couldn't even do a pull up to start. When I first started, I was like very weak.
Such a good analogy.
And just each time I kept working hard. Added another rep, and
now,
in the grand scheme of things, where I could probably do like 20 on demand.
No
but
shit.
Like
That's
I'm also
I could do.
I'm also 215, so I'm a heavy guy.
Why?
No, but I like that because
like why?
Because I saw the vision. If here's the thing, like if you don't have the vision, you're gonna fail or give up because you don't have anything to look forward to.
Yeah,
like you have to have the vision and you have to have the micro goals along the way to fulfill that vision.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you don't have that end goal to look forward to, you're just spinning your wheels and you're going to give up.
Right. If you don't see the grass,
Yep.
it's going to be really hard to crawl through the mud. You got to see the soft spot in the grass that you're trying to get to.
Yep.
I always talk about that. I usually, whenever I'm in one of those moments where I am in massive pain, I look into the future, and I know that the future is bright if I'm willing to create it. And then I kind of get started from there,
Yep.
working towards that. I'm like, well, this sucks so bad. I'm not staying here no matter what.
Right.
So I'm going to go into the future. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to create that vision, and then I'm going to get fucking started because the alternative of staying here in pain is not an option.
Not an
Right.
option.
Not
What is your
an
take
option.
on, so like Alan said, yesterday we did an episode on, is America getting soft? Right? From the standpoint of like, it just seems like more and more, the obesity is going through the roof, and the fact that now every single TV is connected to the internet, so you can watch Netflix on every TV basically.
At any time. On
At
your
any
phone.
time,
On your
YouTube.
phone at any time. Yep.
We basically, technology has allowed us to just be comfortable all the time.
It's a beauty and a curse, I always say.
Do you think
Right?
it's
the best
like a
way to
matter of
articulate it.
people getting soft, or do you think it's a matter of, like, we're in a new technology age, so have we just not developed the ability to just turn it off and realize, like, what's outside matters?
I think it's exactly what you just hit upon. It's that it is so much and it's so overwhelming that we just have it there, so it's just like, our daily life.
Right.
But again, going back to us having choices, you have the choice to sit there and watch TV, or you have the choice to go, hit the gym, and like one's more detrimental towards your health or future, and the other's good for it. So like you have to pick. You have a choice. You have a choice in life in anything that you do. So like you can sit here and blame others or blame things around you for the circumstances that you're in, but in the end of the day, it's all you.
Yeah, it's all you.
Yep.
So in that situation, someone's sitting on the couch there. You can watch Netflix, their favorite show, or they can go to the gym. What I want people to realize is that every single time, the gym is going to be more painful in the moment, but better for you in the long run. The Netflix is not going to be painful in the moment, but it is going to be afterwards in the form of regret. If that's all you do, it's got to be balanced. I think 80-20. There's nothing wrong with Netflix as long as you don't overuse it.
Yep.
And we've all overused it. All of us have.
I even say abuse it sometimes.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's not getting any better. So this technology that's making us, it's human nature to chase comfort. Why? Because comfort is safe and we're designed to survive. Okay, we all know that. So we have to really break our own game, so to speak, and stop doing that, because what created you said adapt and grow. That's evolution. That's what made us with these big brains. That's what created us over time. Millions of years of adapting and growing through all of the harsh circumstances. Harsh circumstances for a lot of us are no longer there regularly. I shouldn't say not there, because we've all had massive traumas in our lives. Everybody goes through shit. But the problem is we're not going through shit consistently enough on the micro level to where when a macro failure comes and some real trauma happens, we shell up rather than grow up.
Yep.
Right? And so on the day-to-day, you really should be having a hard fucking time. I'm sorry, but you should. Because then when a real hard time comes, you'll be able to handle it emotionally.
Yep.
Um,
And that's the thing. I mean, we're all human, so we all have these feelings and these emotions. We're all going to get down at times, but it's what you do in those down times that shows your true character and what your potential is, to become. So,
Love it.
Like if I find that I'm getting down, or see, that's the thing. Sometimes you can get too focused on the end goal, or see the other people that have what you want and get down about it because you're not where they're at. But you have to think about the fact that they had to do the same thing that you're about to do. They had to walk, crawl through the mud in order to get to that point, and realize that that's what needs to be done, rather than just sitting there and feeling bad for yourself.
Right. I always use the crawl through the mud analogy because you're going to have to crawl through the mud. I wish we had a shirt because we'd show them the design. But
I know.
and we do have them. Vinny brought him. He's a G.
And after this, we're gonna go on the laptop, pick out a design.
Yeah, we're
We're gonna hook these guys up.
I will be wearing
on the
it.
next podcast.
Yeah,
we'll do
sweet.
it. Yeah.
As soon as we get
Won't
them.
die broke.
Definitely.
It's a fact.
Right. For sure. Nobody wants to die broke.
No.
What was I saying?
Oh, you were saying that
crawling through the
Peanut
mud.
brain. Oh yeah.
Crawling through the mud, yep.
You're going to have to crawl through the mud to get your brand off the ground. We're going to have to continue to crawl through the mud. We're always going to be crawling through some sort of mud.
Yeah.
But there's
But what if you learn to love the mud?
you don't want to love the mud too much.
Yeah.
Then you'll get comfortable there and you'll stay there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But
What-
there are patches of grass along the way.
Yeah, and they're fucking so
Like
sweet.
right now, this is a patch of grass. Like
It
what we're
is.
doing is this is it. This is why we do it.
Yeah.
The setup and the fuck up that's gonna happen hasn't yet.
Yeah. Knock on wood. Yeah.
But I think people get so caught up in the result. I always say, like, if you're doing what you love, if you're a boxer and you're 0-26 and you've gotten knocked out 26 times, it might be time to hang up the gloves.
yeah.
But if your first podcast fails, like mine did, or
Yeah.
not first, but one of my best ones,
Yeah.
if something happens with your shirts and they all burn and you have to reorder a bunch of new inventory and all that, like, that's what makes you, like you just said. What do you do when shit hits the fan? Do you quit, or do you just say, well, okay, that's what it takes? I guess that's what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen at some point, but maybe not. It's not gonna be a complete like earthquake tragedy, type moment. But there's gonna be those things along the way that you have to say, what could I have done better? And it's always you. It's always you. Like, what could I have done better to
That's a great
make it
fucking
succeed?
point.
Yeah,
like,
It is always you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, even in a relationship and a friendship, you name it, it's always you. Keep going. Sorry.
no, it really is, because there's always something better you can be doing. You can be putting more effort into the right things rather than the wrong things, and it always comes down to you.
Because there's always more you could do, or even if it's not more, you could work smarter.
Better, yeah.
There's always a
Yeah.
better way to go about it. Always.
And sometimes, sometimes you're going to be beating a dead horse. Like, if it's just not a good idea, then it's
Right.
not a good idea.
Right,
But
yeah.
if you have a good idea that you are truly passionate about, that you think that you would like to share with other people, and that they would get the same,
Value.
feeling and satisfaction as you would from it, then go for it. Just do it.
You ready to go deep?
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you want to accomplish before you die?
My biggest thing that I want to do is I want to retire my dad. Like, that's been my goal for a while now, and that's kind of why I got to that point where I wanted to start this business. Is I was like, man, I'm not happy with where I'm at financially. This is a big goal that I really have, that I want to accomplish, and I'm going to accomplish. And I'm like, won't die broke. Like, I feel like so many people could relate to that statement alone, and it makes you want to get up off your ass and do something. So
good for
that's
you, man.
that's why I'm putting my heart into this, because I know that other people will relate to the brand.
For sure.
We're gonna rep the shit out of it.
Yeah.
For sure, man.
Good,
I love
man.
that. I love that. You basically, like, that's a lot of people's fears.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
gonna
a
put
lot
it on
of-
a shirt, and that should motivate you.
There's a lot of people right now. I'm reading. You've read Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, and the statistics. Have you?
No, I haven't read that
okay.
one yet. No.
You should. Sorry,
This-
I know you're a Tony Robbins
He's
fan.
the book connoisseur over here. I need to get on his level, but
Hey, we're working on
Trust
it.
me,
We're working on it.
I've been working at that for a while. It's not
He
easy.
snaps me books all the time. I love it. I'm spitting all over the place.
Spitting, spilling water.
But in that book, he talks about baby boomers and how they're moving into retirement, and how most of them, 2/3 of baby boomers, don't have more. They couldn't grab $1,000 on a whim. Don't quote me on that, because it's possible that I just butchered that quote. But put it this way: baby boomers, that there's a large portion of the population that is going to have to work a lot longer than they intended because they didn't save enough money. So I always say, be an investor, stop being a consumer. If you own an iPhone but not Apple stock, then you're making a mistake. And I don't mean that in the sense that I own Apple stock. I do have an iPhone. But what I mean is, you should be investing your time, energy, and money, not just consuming it. Netflix is consuming time. It's
Oh, yeah.
consuming money. You're literally paying for it and doing nothing, getting no return.
Exactly.
There's no ROI, return on investment. Time, energy, and money. Wherever you spend those three assets is what's going to determine the quality of your life. You can invest them or you can consume them. 80-20, in my opinion. So for you personally, like, I always say, money is just value. It's currency. If I could look at your bank balance, I could tell you what you value. I'm going to see books. I'm going to see food. I'm going to see gym memberships. I'm probably going to see, investment in your business. You're an investor.
Right.
How do we convince someone who's still just a fucking consumer, no offense, to really sell them on the idea that your life is going to be better if you start investing?
And that's that's a really hard thing to do in today's day and age, where the like we said before, there's so many things hitting us. There's so many ads, just smothering our brains, and like we're like, man, I really want that, or that guy's wearing it because, so I got to have it too. But like, these are all just objects.
Yeah.
I think of the stuff that I have now because I was a consumer for a long time.
Yeah,
we all were.
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, like, people are there right now. What do we say to them?
But these are tools. The money is a tool.
Yep.
The iPhone is a tool.
Yep.
You're using it as a tool right now. Like, these are all tools to build your own success. And like you were talking about the baby boomers, like, I know personally from family members that have lost a ton of money in 401k and stuff. All that stuff's not guaranteed to be there.
No,
Like,
it's not.
That's why we need to be self-sufficient and independent in our own, our financial state, because all these different things are not going to always be there.
Yeah, man. You made a great point with we're using it as a tool. The iPhone is a tool. Mm-hmm. So I really want to drive that home for people. So Vinny just said the iPhone is a tool, money is a tool. Right now we're using that tool to add value to other people, and we're investing our time and our tool into a better future for not only ourselves but other people. If we're sitting here playing Angry Birds, we're not using that tool to add value. We're not investing, we're consuming.
You're wasting time.
You're wasting time, which is the most valuable asset on earth. Like, I always try to tell people, like, when you don't want to get up and go to the gym, remember there's someone in the hospital right now begging God for the opportunity that you have right now. And you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix, which again is fine if it's occasionally, but if you're not going to the gym and you want to be fit, like, there's people that wish they had legs that work.
Right. Yep.
Isabella. I always go back. The mud she's crawling through is more difficult than anything we could possibly fathom.
She's stronger than 99.9% of people in the world.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, she's
unbelievable.
Amazing. She's amazing.
Yep.
The human spirit is uncrushable if you can dig deep and just say, fuck this, I'm moving forward regardless of the circumstance.
And I experienced that because I actually had hurt my back pretty good doing something stupid. But we won't get into that. But being the avid weightlifter I am, it was really, really difficult for me to back off from things that I enjoyed doing.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't squat for a very long time because just way too much pain. It was killing me. I could barely walk at some times. I could barely get out of bed. And that really humbled me and made me appreciate, oh, man, I only get this one body. I only get this one life. Like, I got to be a little bit more calculated in things that I do. So,
amen, man.
Yeah.
So it did make you better in the long run, you think?
Oh, it did for sure. Now I know I choose carefully the things that I do, especially in the gym.
Yeah.
If something doesn't feel right, okay, I'll just back off from that for the day, but I'll go attack it the next time. Like it doesn't mean it's always going to be there. It's never,
Yeah, man. Don't take it for granted.
It's a big micro failure. You had a micro failure and you made a change according.
So I would argue that injury, and if this is a no-fly zone, that's fine. But like, can we go dive a little? I wanted to ask you about that because I know you were super into fitness, and then you fell off quite a bit for a while there because you got injured. I think I've never met an athlete who isn't injured on some level. I asked you before this podcast, I'm like, are you injury-free right now? And you lit right up because you're like, I feel fucking amazing. My lower back hurts a little, but not a ton. What do you think caused that? You said you did something stupid. What do you think caused that? Like, what were you unaware of and maybe not reading the obvious signs that led to that? Or was it a freak incident?
It just happened after one workout, one deadlifting workout where I was doing heavy weight tap and go, and I wasn't resetting after each rep, and it was just all lower back. And after like a week after that, my back was feeling really stiff. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So I backed off, and it just never got right again. And no matter what I did, it wouldn't get any better. So I was like, man, what am I going to do about this? Like, I need to figure something out. I need to look outward for some information on this. And
right? I love that. Whenever you're in pain, search.
Search. So I ended up going to physical therapy and just watching YouTube video after YouTube video. Again, using it as a tool, not just watching some mindless show.
Exactly.
I'm doing something to help my situation or better myself. So watching videos, learning as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And I pretty much, between physical therapy and the self-taught procedures that I learned on my own, I'm back to probably 95%.
Nice, congrats, man.
So man,
good, beautiful.
Instead of doing what a lot of people do and just hammer pills. Fuck it, I'll just take some Advil.
That's
a
exactly.
Band-Aid.
It's the Band-Aid.
It's the Band-Aid,
and then
man.
you get out of pain and you don't fix the underlying problem.
I wanted to go back quickly and touch
Let's do
on
it.
when you were saying, basically, Matt, my roommate, best friend Matt, he is a genius when it comes to allocation of wealth, allocation of anytime there's a number,
Yeah.
he will make the number work in any situation.
He's in
so,
finance.
like you just said, he will literally, this is how he puts, so he does flexible dieting. For those who don't know, you can eat whatever you want, just eat under your calories. You're fine. That's the gist of flexible dieting.
You might
I'm
feel
not
like
gonna go into
shit, but
Yeah, exactly.
you're
It's
eating
a little
donuts all
more
day.
intense
Yeah,
than that.
it is.
But
But the general outline.
Yeah.
Just for this point.
Yeah.
So he'll literally say, I have 2,800 calories in my bank.
Yeah.
Is this cookie worth 500 calories?
Yeah.
Is it really worth it?
if it's at Panera and it's 800 calories.
Yeah,
those
that's
things are-
the kitchen
Dude,
sink
did you
cookie.
get it?
I've had about
so legit.
60 of
Oh
them.
my god.
But to your point of you use that time that you had on YouTube for the right thing.
Yeah.
Allocation of time and energy are huge things.
Yes.
Yep.
If you stay up all night doing something you shouldn't be and you don't get up to do the things you should be,
Yep.
that is when your life takes a turn for the worse because
Yeah.
then you start doing 80% of what you shouldn't and 20% of what you should.
Exactly.
And you don't think you can do it because you've set the cards up in a way that it's super hard to succeed.
Yep. I feel like everybody wants a TV show. Everybody wants a drama. They want to like play their lives out through somebody else. But I never understood that. I was never a big TV buff for that simple fact that I want to
Live your own
create
life.
my own life. I don't want to watch their life. Like,
I know.
I have no part in that. Like I want my own success in my own life.
I think people should constantly be asking themselves in every situation, like, what am I becoming here? Like, what am I getting out of this? And I don't mean in a selfish way. I mean, like, am I improving right now? And if the answer is no, stop doing that thing.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, even if I'm watching Netflix with Jenny, like, we have conversations that make me smarter, make me better. We're investing time, quality time with each other for a brighter future because I love her. Like, I'm an investor. I don't do anything that makes me worse
Right.
because it's a waste of my fucking time.
Yep.
You know, and I feel like
People
it
don't
took
wanna
me a
hear
while
that.
to get there.
Yep.
It wasn't overnight.
Right.
But like, even if I am resting, it's only in an effort to get after it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a better life.
Yeah.
Trust
Right.
me, I've lived both.
Yep.
You know, it's way better over here. Come with us.
Please. Yeah.
Come with us, yeah.
Please.
And that's why you're on the show, man, because you, in the last 3 years, like, have proved that with your actions. I've watched, you know, I've seen your work ethic and stuff. At one point, I wanted to use your beats for some of my videos.
I'm still working on them.
You are,
Yeah.
and you're
Yep.
playing guitar. You're nasty at
Yep.
guitar.
Thanks, man.
Oh, absolutely, brother. It doesn't go unnoticed, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And same with you guys. Like even if I've been ghosting for a little while, like I've been following you guys. You guys, you know, listening to your content and watching your content. It's always inspiring, and you know, it helps me get after it because I'm like, sometimes you need a fuckload of internal inspiration, but sometimes you do need some
Yeah,
external
a
inspiration.
trigger.
Like, yeah,
Like
you
that,
need a trigger. So like, you know, if you're waking up one morning and you're feeling, you know, oh, this is gonna be a rough day, look to something that's going to inspire you. Like put the necessary, you know, things in order for you to succeed. Don't just sit there and be like, man, it's gonna be a bad day, and then your whole day is a bad day.
Right.
I know.
And I say that all. So this is something that's happened to me. Like I woke up late, poured my coffee, and spilled it on myself, and then like I'm hammering it to get to work on time, and then my whole day is screwed up because, again, I didn't wake up early enough.
Yep.
Or like you always say, don't come from an unresourceful. Unresourceful. That's not even a word. Unresourceful place. And like this morning, I was running late. I was still on time.
Yeah, you were.
But when I got to the gym, like I'm sure you could tell, I was a little bit.
You were off a little.
I was very intense
Oh, yeah.
today.
You were.
I also had a lot of feelings.
I was shocked that you didn't like. Usually, when you
Walking-
see Jenny B, you light right up.
I gave her a hug.
did you?
Yeah.
All right.
But walking
doesn't give
back,
me hugs.
Walking
No.
back into the Uxbridge gym just did something to me today. Like it's been a minute since I've been there, and
Yeah.
I just felt I felt some fire.
Some fire.
It's funny, like, because we're creatures of habit. So if something throws you off, even 10 minutes out of your way, it makes you frantic.
Yeah.
It throws you off.
And I'm a very analytic. Like Alan flies by the seat of his pants. He's very good at not making plans. I'm the opposite. I need to know what's going on
Yep.
because I like planning out times. I like planning out. That's just how I am.
Interesting.
I'm a psycho.
Interesting.
But I think you need a little bit of both, though. Like
Yes, structure plus
yeah,
flexibility.
You need to plan things, but there's also times where you should just be like go off on a whim and just do
I agree.
something.
I
Yeah.
agree. I would say if this was a job interview and I was trying to get a job at the nice beard club, which I can't because look at me. And you said, what's your biggest weakness? I would say that. Just flying by the seat of my pants. I'm not.
No, not flying. Wait, what do you mean?
Not flying.
Yeah. Like
struggling
needing
to
structure,
fly by the
structure.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm somebody who needs structure.
You've been doing great at that, man. This
Yeah, but-
podcast, I mean, dude, setting up and the
But that's,
logistics.
I've done it 30 times. Like,
Yeah,
I don't need to.
it was
worry
hard
about
each
it now.
time.
Right.
That's the micro.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, dude, we've set up. Vinny was talking earlier. He's like, yeah, I wanted to come to you guys because I want you to podcast where you podcast. And I was like, oh, dude, no, we podcast everywhere.
Yeah,
I
literally
podcast
everywhere.
in England. I brought all this stuff to England with me
Which is crazy.
and
Talk
podcasted with Andrew Copeland.
Talk about like that's such next level shit. Who brings their podcast stuff to England?
Oh yeah,
Right.
Like just to podcast.
I brought all of
That's
this.
why you're you. Though.
I literally had an extra. I got on the train when we were leaving. I got on the train to go back to London from the beach town we were staying in, and I literally had a backpack on the floor, and then I had my full suitcase on my lap, and some old guy came over and sat. Like he needed the seat, so I had to take it off of his seat, and I literally sat on it, or it sat on me for like an hour and a half. 2
I gotta
hours.
say, out of everything I know about you, that right there is to me the biggest tell of why I think you're gonna succeed.
I also went
in
to the gym.
anything you want.
I also went to the gym. when I was
Exactly.
in
But seriously, like the what are you willing to do to achieve what you want to achieve? At the end of the day, it's how bad do you want it? Like that's just something that most people would be like, no, I'm not gonna take all this extra stuff to a new continent.
They want to be
Like,
safe.
They want to, yeah, and you did it.
But that
because-
whole thing for me was like, dude, honestly, the whole thing was fear chasing. So at this point, what's one more bag?
I know you think of it that way, but that's next level shit.
Well, I
Kevin.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate
man.
that.
That's the reason
In
you're
the
gonna
moment,
succeed,
there's
because-
honestly not much I wouldn't do. Like in the moment, if you said like, "Oh, we have a dope ass interview in Pennsylvania, let's go." Like no questions asked. I'll drive 7
Okay,
8
so
hours.
what
I don't
make-
care.
What made that the way you are? Because I think we all are like that to an extent where people think I'm crazy.
You are.
Like they see me in the Jenny said, she's like, your eyes like scary in the gym, like the level of intensity that I go to. So what is it about us that gives us that insatiable, like I'm gonna make this happen no matter fucking what?
I told you, man. I was always small. I was always the smallest person growing up. So I had to have my skills elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like I might be smaller, but I'll be faster. I'll have to be faster.
Yeah.
You know, or what
or harder working,
whatever.
or willing to do more.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It was always
Like you said,
something.
sliding into the fence, bleeding leg.
Yeah,
no
man,
one even
I don't.
knew.
I am just reckless. A
little
lot of times
reckless.
I'm reckless. Like I don't. And work helped, dude. Driving
Yeah.
8 hours to
all relative.
New
Yeah, yeah.
Jersey and working an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And being up for 25 hours routinely once a week.
Dude,
What's a
crazy.
6-hour drive, dude? I don't care.
That work ethic is everything. So for you, Vinny, what do you think that is for you? Because it is different. Like I noticed you
for
in
sure.
the gym 3 years ago, and there was something different about you. Because game recognizes game. I can tell. I'm like, oh, this. First of all, no one's in that great a shape here, and he is. So there's something different. Not.
Thank you.
Not to
I
hate on
tried.
anyone at any time, but you were killing it. You were
tried.
killing it, and you were in a stringer, and you were crushing chin-ups, like
Yeah.
crushing chin-ups. And I remember being like, "Oh wow, like who is he?" What is it about you that you think created that?
Honestly, I think a lot of it had to do with growing up, growing pains growing up, and just feeding off that in my adult life, because I was one of those kids that like I didn't fit in with just one group of people. I kind of had people here and there, but I was always very like alone, especially like through high school. I felt I was always like alone and always like balled up inside and afraid to like release myself to the world.
Oh shit, man.
I was like that for a long time, and I still have things, times where I'm like that, but I'm working on getting better at it, and I've gotten way better, and the fitness thing has helped me tenfold to overcome that.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Like that. What you just said is the perfect way to explain it.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I
great.
feel like I've always had more to give. I've just been afraid to do it because of for whatever reason.
Yeah, you're afraid of what society
Yeah,
thinks
man.
that or is going to think of you. It's
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
No, and if you're good, so I myself have an issue with being good at stuff. Like I have an issue with admitting I'm good at stuff. Like that never seemed okay to me. For some reason,
I'm the same way. Yep.
Yeah, you and I are the same person. I need that beard though.
I need that beard though.
Are you becoming more comfortable with yourself now to the point where, like, if I said, how long have you been making beats for?
About About a year.
Some of them are sick.
Right. So
Yeah.
if
I've listened to a few of them.
if I was
okay.
to say like, what do you think of your beats?
I think they're trash.
Interesting.
That's like, I think they're, I wouldn't say trash, I guess. I think they're okay, but to my standards, they're way below what they need to be. Like,
Okay, let's talk about that. So I have a quote. You saw it in the basement when I gave you the tour. It says, "Demand more from yourself than anyone could possibly expect of you." Tony Robbins quote.
Yep.
And you just said that you always felt like you had more to give. Unleash the power within. So this is a good little tangent here. Standards. You can tell someone's standards. Like if you want this podcast to succeed, you bringing your equipment to England to me is like his standard.
What a
is fucking
terrible! It was
next.
a terrible rep too. The audio was terrible.
Yeah, but it was, and you probably felt like shit about that.
Oh yeah, I felt terrible.
But you still crawled through that
did
mud.
it.
Right,
So you
yeah.
have these ridiculously high standards. I always say have ridiculously high standards for yourself, but be compassionate with others. And that's hard to do because how we treat ourselves tends
It's a
to be
hard
how
line to draw, yeah.
But you also have to be compassionate with yourself sometimes when you're really low. You're not going to build on like just beating yourself up while you're down. So you have high standards, so you think your beats are no good. I think they're great. Or the ones I've heard. I think there's two of them that I was like, fuck yeah, let's put these on some of my videos. It's all about Alan. No. But how do you feel good about yourself if you're constantly beating yourself up when you put in a rep?
Great question.
because,
Like this is you too.
Oh,
by
yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
because like we'll go back to you gotta enjoy, the crawling in the mud. You gotta enjoy the process itself, because once you're at that, final destination of where you're trying to go, I mean, what do you do from there? You're gonna have to set higher standards.
Yeah.
You're gonna, have to reach for something further than that. So you have to enjoy the process and enjoy, the fact that you're learning and moving forward, and you're not always going to be right where you're at right now.
So you get your enjoyment and self-esteem from the growth, not from the result?
Right. And
That's fucking great. Because you gotta... Your reps are always gonna suck at first. Like, honestly.
Always.
When you first go to the gym, you're not gonna bench press
Right.
235. You're gonna fucking do the bar
Yeah.
and look like an idiot. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what it takes to ever bench 235. So it's the process that makes you most happy?
Yeah, and I think if you need to be alone during that stage, by all means, like, be alone. Like, if you need to during those, starting phases where you feel like, man, I feel uncomfortable, what are people going to say about me? Like, by all means, go that way, when you first get started. But as you progress, you need to start, reaching out and talking to people that are like-minded. Like, that's why I came to this show today. Like, I want to connect with you guys a lot more frequently, especially now after today. Like, we need to stay in touch, and we need to, just bounce ideas off of each other and learn from each other, because, like, this is what I need in my life right now. Like, I need other people that I can physically, be in a presence of, that have the same mindset as me.
Yeah, man.
I love that. And that's one of the things Alan always says. Like, we meet dope people.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
we
awesome.
get to talk with dope
It's
people.
awesome.
And
It's the best.
And we are in constant contact with just about everybody we sit down with. Like, that's what we want, man. That's it.
Go to war with a council of advisors.
Yeah.
And I always say make sure they're mastery driven. The people that want to master their craft. Not the people that have the results necessarily, the people that want to master their craft. Because who plays guitar for 20 years?
Yeah.
Masters. Period. What has anyone done for 20? What have I done for 20 years besides be good looking?
Oh, my goodness.
Too much?
This is what we deal with regularly. I want you to know.
No, I wasn't always good looking.
And that's how you find out, what that's how you find out what you're about, though, and what you stick with in the long run. The thing that always kind of ate me alive along my journey is like thinking about other people thinking that, oh, like we were talking before, this is just a phase, or he's flaky because he didn't stick with that. But like, you need to try things. Like, don't let other people's opinions affect what you're going to do in your reality, because it doesn't matter what they think or anybody else thinks. It's what you think and feel at the end of the day.
You said you're a perfectionist. And the reason I'm asking this is because I know a lot of people probably feel the same way. Do you have a conscious thought of what made you a perfectionist, or do you just remember always being that way?
I kind of remember always being that way, and my mother's kind of like that too. So I kind of grew up like that, but I've just always strived for perfection, and that's inhibited me from growth for a while because I always wanted everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
That I'd overthink too much, and then I wouldn't take the action. So me
Because
now,
inevitably it's not going to be perfect.
yeah, it's never going to be perfect. Nothing on this earth is perfect.
Nothing. Not
So
one thing.
like you need to let that fly out the window and just go for it and enjoy the failures.
Here's a perfect example. I just tried to crack that joke about being good looking and it didn't work. But you move on. You screw up and you move on. Not everything you say is going to be right.
Yep.
Not everything you try to express is going to come out right. But not expressing is how you become depressed and how you never improve. There's so many people in there that are out there that are too afraid to take action, when in reality, taking action is why we're here. If there's something in your heart and you're holding yourself back because you're afraid of what someone will think, it's going to hurt a little bit. Like, honestly, even just saying that and then going, oh, that came off wrong, it hurts a little. And I'm sitting here hurting a little. Yep. But then I'm like, you know what? I tried. I gave it a shot.
The thing is,
I gave it a shot.
What are you supposed to do? Like, say, I'm me, right? I make jokes. I say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, I've always said I'm not going to edit an episode. I'm not cutting anything out of any of these episodes.
And we haven't yet.
No,
we have never.
I won't.
We've never.
As long as somebody doesn't come on and say something fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think that was the
yeah. I misspeak. Like,
of course.
God, I say words that don't even exist, Vinny. Like, that's the opener. Me trying to say geographically, but geography.
But that's real. Like that's real. Like not everything. Like the stuff you see on social media. Like we all do it. We enhance our pictures a little bit, whatever. Like the stuff you see on social media. That's the highlights. That's the like. They want you to believe they're living this fantasy life when in reality mistakes happen, stuff happens. Like there's a process to everything.
And if you're you, like, what am I supposed to be? Somebody else?
Yeah, exactly.
So somebody likes me?
Yeah.
What about me? Yeah. I care more about me than what I care about other people.
And what am I supposed to do? Not make mistakes?
Right. Yeah. No,
like,
you can't.
There's
you
no
need to be
such,
perfect.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And people will respect you a lot more for just blatantly saying what's on your mind, rather than holding
real.
back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even if it's not what they want to hear, they'll still at the end of the day respect you more so because you told them the truth.
Authenticity is important.
Have you dealt with any haters yet?
Not yet. I have a pretty good support system behind me, so there's gonna be haters along the way, no matter what, no matter how small or how big you are. There's gonna be haters, and you just gotta learn to tune them out.
Yeah.
So you and I in the preamble, when we were setting up, we talked about this. You said once your mind is expanded, something along these lines. You basically said you can't go back.
Right.
And I don't like the word can't, but when you have an idea, a vision of what your life could be, and you know that it's possible, like in your heart, it's almost like it's always going to bother you if you don't at least progress towards that to some extent. So like you have masterminds like we talked about with Corey and Nate all the time, like and you guys talk this kind of stuff all the time.
Yep.
I remember being like, Nate, I want to get in on that. Like, let's talk. Because I think conversations change lives, obviously. What do you think it is that people, let's say they hear this conversation and they go, it sparks an idea and it goes, oh my God, I could try that, or I could try this, right? What do you think will happen if they do versus they don't? And like, is there a version of someone staying where they are after hearing this conversation? And if so, do you think it would eat them alive? What's your take on that whole thing?
Well, of course it isn't. And actually, this older gentleman, Dave, that I work with, he says it almost every day. Life isn't a dress rehearsal. You only get one shot at this. So there's going to be people that do and people that don't. And both are going to find out the harsh reality either way, either path they choose. If they don't, then you're going to be stuck in the same rut you've been, for whatever your whole life.
Yeah.
If you do, then you're going to have these roadblocks along the way, but you're working to better yourself and improve yourself. And that, to me, that's the better choice.
The better choice.
Oh,
The harder choice.
Yeah.
But
the harder
better
choice
one?
is always the better choice.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Everybody wants the easy way out.
Right. There's always two options. One's the easy one and one's the right one. Like, that's how it goes. That's just, and the reason I think that is because, think of it like this. You get into a new relationship, red flags. But it's hard. It's hard. I don't want to hurt this person. I don't want to hurt this person. I love this person.
Yeah.
6 years down the line, you're miserable. You're both miserable.
Yeah.
And now it's too late because you have kids and you got a house together and you guys share a bank account and this, and it's like, oh, but what if you knew this was going to happen 6 years ago, but you didn't have the balls to do it then because you thought it was going to hurt. It hurts now, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And not everything's that way, but...
Yeah, and there's never no way out, but it's a way harder way out now because you dug yourself way deeper down a road that you knew in your heart you shouldn't have gone down. That's tough, man. It's tough to know for sure whether or not. How do we articulate that for people? How do you know for sure this is wrong or this is right? How do you know it's not circumstantial versus?
But you don't, but there's a lot of things in life that are obvious right choices versus wrong choices, but sometimes you just don't know.
It's ambiguous.
And sometimes you got to fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last or 2 episodes ago when I was talking about my ex and like I had to screw that up. I had to, but I'll never screw it up again.
Right.
Good, man.
And that's like
and she holds no
right.
You know,
she actually reached out and said, "Hey, like I heard and I want you to know like I don't hold any ill feelings." And she actually is moving to California.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good for her. I'm happy for her, and I hope I wish her the most success, and I'm sure she's going to kill it. So, but I had to learn, and she probably learned something from that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, everything is an opportunity to learn as long as you're willing to look behind the curtain of pain or embarrassment or whatever. Like,
I love that quote.
Nobody's perfect.
Right?
Nobody's perfect, man.
Perfect. Nope.
Except for Alan.
Yeah, of course.
Well, thank you, Kevin. No, I'm far from perfect. So there's a couple
we
questions.
got a few minutes left.
Yeah. There's a couple questions that I really wanted to get to that I like to ask the guests because I think these are so important. So first and foremost, I think mentors are absolutely critical. When I look at my life and I look at where I learned the most, it was usually from mentors. Mm-hmm. So who do you have as a mentor, and what are you trying to do that other people can start doing to get around more mentors who are you're going to be able to learn from?
So there's a few close to me. Obviously, I look up to you guys, but also
appreciate that.
Nate. Nate always, he's like you. He doesn't have a structure somehow. He just flies by the seat of his pants.
Nate is a sick fuck.
Yeah, that's it.
But his drive and ambition. See, I like to take aspects from other people and apply them to myself. So, like Nate, his drive and ambition, I like to take from him. My good, my best friend Corey, he taught me to live life a little bit. I was sitting there in my little shelled ball, perfect life, whatever, and he taught me to go outside my comfort zone and live. So I kind of take that from him. There's some other people, obviously, with the apparel brand that I'm working on. Yeah. This guy Randall Pitch, he actually started Live Fit apparel. He's based out of California. I don't know if you guys have seen his stuff. But, yeah, but he I watch all of his stuff and his videos, and super inspiring. Came from absolutely nothing. His family's Cambodian, and they came here and had literally nothing, and he literally built himself into a millionaire. So, doing what I'm trying to do right now. So,
nice.
And the obvious guys like Gary Vee and Ty Lopez and those guys, but like those are just like overall inspiration, I think, to take from those guys. But I like to just take parts of different people and kind of apply them to the way I live.
I love it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that too.
How do you know when someone resonates with you and you're like, oh, I want them to be? So I break it down into heroes and mentors. So mentors would be people you know in person, and then heroes would be like the Gary V's and Ty Lopez and stuff like that. But again, it's just labels. So they're all mentors in a way.
Right.
How do you know when someone resonates with you and you're like, oh, I want to learn from that person?
Well, I've always gone with my gut. My gut has never led me wrong. I mean, all the stuff, facts, all this stuff is like man-made. But for me, I need to feel in my gut that I trust somebody. So I always go from within, what I feel about the person to make a judgment call. But that's usually how I
Interesting.
do it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's super important too. Like that was a great question because Joe Rogan is my idol. Like I think he's
Ultimate hero.
Yeah, ultimate hero. And he's doing a comedy show next month in Boston that I'm going to go to for sure.
Yes.
But I liked him. Like, and I never realized why. Like I feel like he was doing something that I didn't know I wanted to do.
Yeah.
How do you, and this is for both of you because I think this is a very tough question. How do you see somebody doing something, you admire it, how do you know whether or not like that is what you want to do?
You want to take it first or me
for
first? I say, Tony Robbins' quote, where focus goes, energy flows. I always say where admiration goes, energy flows. So it's not like what we learn, it's who we learn from. So I always use the funny thing, if Tom Brady taught geometry in New England, all kids would know the Pythagorean theorem. I always say that.
Right.
Because they all look up to Tom Brady. So who you look up to is who you're going to resonate most with, which is who you're going to retain most with.
Yep.
For me, it's Tony Robbins. For him, it's Joe Rogan. For you, I'm not sure which your main hero is. I have a bunch of heroes, fictional, regular. But my answer is when you admire something in someone else, it's your soul telling you wish you could be that way.
Right.
And everyone in my life, we said this in the preamble, if they're in my life, it's because I admire and love something about that person, and it's something that I aspire to. I'm going to fail. There's always everyone in my life is better than me at something, way better than me at something, and I'm usually always trying to at least aspire to be as good as I can in that endeavor. That's my...
Love it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, at 18 years old, I didn't know I was going to be, a weightlifter or into bodybuilding, but we all can change. We all can make different decisions in our lives that can, be for the better or for the worse. And we've talked about that pretty much the entire show. Like,
Right.
Choices.
It's choices. So like, I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. You both are different people than you were 10 years ago. But it's all choices and learning throughout the process.
I love it, man.
I have a great question. I have two more quick, Kev.
Yeah,
and I know we gotta
hit
go.
'em quick.
So this one is a perfect segue from what you just said. I always say that the truest part of us is the one thing that never changed. There's a million things about me that's changed, you that's changed, Kevin that's changed. We've grown, changed, evolved. Mm-hmm. What about you do you feel like is your truest self? It's something that never changed.
I feel like I've always been a compassionate person, and it's really hard to turn that off for me. I've never been able to turn it off, so it's just who I am. And that's you got to live with who you are sometimes and accept who you are for these different things. I mean, like I said, there's things you can change, there's things you can't change, and that's one thing that I can't change about myself is, having compassion for others. It's just can't turn it off.
That's a wonderful thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes back to originally at the beginning of this podcast when you said, I asked you, like, what's an example of each? And you said compassion. So I thought that might have been your answer. I'm glad it was. And that's a wonderful, wonderful
What's yours?
thing.
Yep.
Mine that never changed. For me, it's... I wrote this on my flashcard not long ago because I know what it is in my heart, but I haven't articulated it. So the way I finally articulated it was to make people feel and know that they really do matter.
That's another form of compassion, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I want people, I always, to answer this, because this is super, super important, I think. Shanice, shout out to you. I know you watch these podcasts. She reached out. She saw a Snap video that I did that she loved a while back. This is years ago. And she said, don't forget the little people when you make it, like on your way up. I said, Shanice, there are no little people. There are only people who have been convinced that they're little. My purpose is to convince them they're not.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. Yeah, I would say you articulated that quite well.
Thank you.
Quite well.
Thank you.
What's your other question?
Last question. Books. Favorite books.
Oh, yes, I knew that was coming.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
man.
favorite book and why?
Sorry,
it's a humdinger.
Honestly, I mean, it might sound cliche, but Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, that's
Napoleon Hill.
dude, that's not cliche. Everyone needs to read that book, man.
Everybody needs to read that book.
Must.
That is the book that inspired this whole self-improvement journey for me. I mean, it is like the Bible in
It's
that
the
regard.
OG.
Like
it's the original.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is
Napoleon
the book.
Hill. I was listening to Napoleon Hill speeches last night on Audible in his own voice. He's amazing. Every time I go back to him, I'm like, wow, he really was that good.
Yep.
This is from the 1930s.
Yep.
It's awesome. He actually passed away not that long ago. I think it was like 10, 15 years ago or something like that.
Yep.
But anyways, Think and Grow Rich. So what's your reason why? Because is it any particular, is it the auto-suggestion, mastermind, just the whole book in general?
Just the whole book. I mean, it's if you read that book and you're not inspired, then there might be something wrong with you.
Oh, wow.
I love it. That's going to be the teaser clip right
Right?
there. read Think and Grow Rich.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
I mean, because afterwards I was like, I'm going to get up and do this.
Yeah.
Like-
What made you... So, somebody looking at a book that's 300 pages or whatever, an audio book that's 8 hours long, can be overwhelming for somebody who's never picked up a book.
Right.
How do you get somebody to believe that they're going to take something from it, that they're actually going to get the catalyzation to start? Or do you kind of like, do you have to? I'm sure there's books out there that I would read that I would just be like, didn't do it for me.
Oh, of course.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's 130 million books. You're not going to like
But
them
that
all.
doesn't mean you're broken. That doesn't mean you don't have a passion.
Yeah.
How do you decipher that?
Right. And that's hard. I mean, but that book in itself, though, everybody should be striving to improve in all areas of their life. So that's why I feel like that book, it's a must read for people. They need to read this book in order to, move forward and take the knowledge they learn from the book and apply it to their real life. Because I mean, there's just some books you read, they're like, fictional books. They're not going to really do much for you. But
Love it.
I guess
Love it.
there's some stuff you can take from that, like, but this
Use
is
your
real life. This is reality.
Yeah. I'm a big nonfiction guy.
Yeah.
I do have one book that I recommend fiction is The Alchemist.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read The Alchemist yet?
No, not yet.
It's my favorite fiction book of all time. I'm not big into fiction, though, so that doesn't say that much.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of nonfiction books, I have Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
I want to show it to you because it's hard copy, and it's like legit. It's like a really legit one.
Yeah, I have
I
a
always-
paperback, cheap one.
I always have a book on my person, so my backpack is always a book in there. For me, it's The Compound Effect, and it has been for years because it's a constant trigger for me to remember The Compound Effect. Remember, and before that, it was Think and Grow Rich. I always had it in my backpack. I highly recommend everyone carry your favorite book around because just you seeing that book will remember you to live by it. For example, Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon, always has Sam Walton's Made in America, who's also another good book, on his person. Walmart. Sam Walton made Walmart 160 billion. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they got a
So-
lot of money.
It kind of
Solid
goes
deal.
against what we just said, but even if it's a Superman comic, if you want to be Superman,
Yeah.
then bring Superman
Great
around.
point.
Like,
It's
real
a
life
reminder.
superheroes. Yeah.
Reminder. Real life
Yeah.
superheroes. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh, throwback. Yes. Oh, that's a good.
Throwing
good,
it in
good,
there.
good. So
It's
you have
a
anything
great
you want to
point.
end with, Kev?
Nope.
Beautiful thing. No. All right.
What about you? You want to? I know you talked a little bit about that, but I want to make sure you get everything out that you want to talk about.
No,
as well.
yeah, I just want to really, like, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for having me on the show. Thank, all your listeners for, staying tuned, and I really appreciate the opportunity, and we're going to stay in touch and keep growing.
Yes.
Fuck yeah, man.
We'll get a gym session in soon.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
For sure.
You'll see the clips on Instagram.
For sure.
Yes, you will. You
Flexing
absolutely
all
will.
over the place uncontrollably.
Ah, beautiful thing. Thank you so much for coming on
Yeah,
the
man.
show.
No,
This
I
was
appreciate
awesome.
it.
It's
We
awesome.
appreciate you coming out of your comfort zone, and I hope people see this and realize, like, whatever it is that you're uncomfortable about, or whatever it is you're second guessing, or whatever it is that you may not have the confidence to do, you can do. Just don't be afraid to be afraid. It's going to be okay. You might fail, but failure breeds success, and just you got to get out there and fucking do it.
Exactly. And Vinny did an amazing job. You did
did.
a great
For
job.
sure.
Man.
Good work.
I tried, and there are times where I'm like, oh, man, what am I going to say? But just do it.
Just
It's
do it.
not that bad in the end. At the end of the day, it's not that hard.
be
Any
you, man.
task you do is not that hard.
And you're
be
going to be
you.
better for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gents, we are out of here. Have a great weekend. Have a great all that, and we will see you soon.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.